Good morning and welcome back to Cord Cutting Today for Friday, February 28th. This is the daily video where we share some of today's top cord cutting stories, along with our thoughts and opinions about what's happening in the world of cord cutting. If you find this video helpful, hit that like button so we know you're interested. And if you're new here, subscribe to Cord Cutters News for videos like this every day. We're going to start off with some big news. This is what everybody was talking about yesterday afternoon. YouTube TV will be losing Sinclair-owned Fox Regional Sports Networks tomorrow, February 29th, unless a deal is made at the very last minute. YouTube is just the next in line for streaming services that are losing these channels, unfortunately. We've already seen Sling TV and Fubo TV lose them as well. So let's dig into this a little bit because we've seen a lot of news about this and we've gotten a ton of emails, Facebook comments, and so on about what's going on. So last year, Sinclair bought Fox Regional Sports Networks in a deal that was worth just over $10 billion. Since then, there have been all kinds of obstacles in making deals between streaming services and Sinclair. When these deals can't be worked out, unfortunately, it means that the channels are removed from these streaming services, which is really hurting the streaming services, but more importantly, it's hurting the subscribers like you guys who are counting on these channels to live stream the sports that they want to watch, their favorite teams, and local games. Now, just for some clarification on which channels this will be affecting, because we've gotten a lot of questions about that, the Yes Network is the big one, and it's the one that we've been getting the most questions about. So then there are also channels like Fox Sports Midwest, Fox Sports South, Fox Sports North. Channels like FS1 and FS2 are not being affected because those channels are still owned by Fox. They are not owned by Sinclair. Now, if you still want these channels, for now you'll still have a couple of options. Hulu with Live is still carrying them, along with AT&T TV Now, who is also still carrying them. We'll be keeping a close eye on those two, and we'll update you if anything changes, but for now, you're good with those. We'll also be posting more about Fox Regional Sports Networks in the next couple of days, which channels this will affect, and more. If you have specific questions, though, go ahead and head over to cordcuttersnews.com, send us a message through that Contact Us tab. We'll do our best to answer your questions through email, and we'll also use those questions to write more posts and share more information about what's happening here and what it means for cord cutters. Now, streaming isn't alone in being affected by Sinclair. Lightshed reported yesterday that Comcast's agreement to air these channels is also coming to an end in September of this year. So according to that report, Comcast, as of now, is not planning to renew their deal to keep these regional sports networks. Like the issues with streaming services, it sounds like Comcast just is not willing to pay for the price hike for these channels that Sinclair has put into effect since purchasing the Fox Regional Sports Networks. Now, with all these streaming services and now cable companies dropping Sinclair-owned Fox Regional Sports Networks, eventually you have to think that the loss is going to catch up with Sinclair. So hopefully this will spur them to take a closer look at their terms and hopefully drop the price to something that's more reasonable for all of these services to meet. Once again, if you have any questions or comments about this, go to the Contact Us page and send over an email. We'll do our best to cover all of this on Cord Cutters News. Let's move on to another story. We learned yesterday that the crackdown on illegal IPTV services and devices is getting more real. So previously we heard about some device and service sellers overseas getting jail time for selling these things illegally. Meanwhile, in the US, a lot of people have been using and selling these IPTV services and devices without a whole lot of fear of being caught or facing any major legal action. That may have just changed. Yesterday we learned that the LAPD has been using undercover officers to purchase streaming devices loaded with these illegal IPTV services. These were being sold in California. The LAPD then arrested the seller for violating code 593D. This code basically just says that you can't intercept, receive, or use these services or programs illegally. So the fight against piracy is ramping up a bit, and now it's being considered a criminal issue by the FBI and other law enforcement. So speaking of piracy, we covered a report this morning from JScrambler, which is a tech company, and they're working to minimize piracy. So in that report, the company shared data showing that piracy caused industry losses of $9.1 billion in 2019. And that number is expected to reach $12.5 billion this year. That's just a crazy amount of money to be lost due to piracy. The company has a few ways of dealing with piracy in an effort to protect content creators as well as the services distributing this content. For consumers, this means that also your credit card information could be at risk if hackers get into the system. If they're stealing content, they're likely also stealing payment information and other sensitive data. They're using digital rights management systems to add to the strength of security checks before actually accessing any of this content. They're also using digital watermarks, which is pretty cool. With those, if content is distributed illegally, they can trace it back to the original source, find out who exactly was the one that was accessing this content and starting to distribute it. They can shut down that distribution, and then they can block these attackers from accessing more content. So all of this is to say that piracy is absolutely a huge issue. We know that in this industry, it is a huge concern. It's not going away anytime soon, but it's clearly now being seen as a criminal issue, and it's being taken a lot more seriously. So what does all of that mean for all of you? When you see ads or you do a Google search and you see a result for a streaming service that's offering you something crazy like 3,000 channels, it'll include all these premium channels, it's more than you could ever ask for, and they're charging like $10 a month. That's a huge red flag. Just be careful of who you're giving your credit card information to and what you're signing up for. Our response is always that if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So be safe out there. All right, let's move on to a little bit of positive news now. Pluto is back with their interface update, and this time it's on Roku devices. We've been talking about this update since last week when Pluto TV started updating their iOS app and also their website. So the same update is now being introduced on other devices. With the update, you'll probably notice that it's a whole lot easier to navigate Pluto's categories. You can find your favorite channels, you can get to those easier, and you can also create a watch list, which is really, really convenient. So you'll never lose track of what you want to watch on Pluto TV. Pluto TV is a free streaming service that you can watch online, on your favorite streaming device, and on mobile devices. It's definitely one to check out if you haven't already, especially with this new look and this easier to navigate interface. So everyone who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of these streaming services that are completely free with ads. So Pluto TV is definitely on the list to check out. All right, some more good news for the end of our daily recap. The channel People Are Awesome is coming to some free streaming services, some more to add to your list, including Redbox, XUMO, and the Roku channel, and more. This 24/7 streaming channel documents incredible people doing incredible and sometimes just flat out crazy things. You'll find everything from short documentaries to self-filmed videos of stunts and absolute shenanigans. You can check it out on these free streaming services. Go ahead and head over to cordcuttersnews.com for a full list of services that this is available on. We love free streaming services. And that wraps up our news for this morning. Thanks for joining me back here at my desk for another cord cutting today. Don't forget to click the links in the description to get the full details on each of these stories and more daily news as we cover the world of cord cutting and share tips to help you save money and stay safe online.